Thanks for tuning in to India Market Close. And it's been an interesting session of trade in that the markets haven't really buckled under pressure, but the gains are capped, if you will. So if you pull up the intraday of the Nifty as well, come up on your screen. There's a chart where we show the gains and the intraday performance of the Nifty together, and you will see what I'm talking about. Look at that. It's just been capped at this level. It just hasn't been able to eclipse from those levels. So 24,250 is a good level, heady level. Let's see if we build on from there. Banks, which were under a bit of a cloud yesterday, despite HDFC Bank's performance, today about 1.7% higher, and some of the losers of early morning trade also are actually performing a lot better than what they were maybe. And lastly, the mid cap and the small cap indices should come up on your screen for a moment before we get to the heat map. About 1/3% for the mid cap index in the session today, and the small caps 0.7%. So the market breadth is looking okay. Get the heat map up on the screen. Not too many losers as you see. Enough gainers. The point is, in the morning, ICICI Bank was the top loser. Now, a lot of those stocks have turned around, especially in the banking pocket, and which is why Bank Nifty is doing what it is doing. ICICI Bank is up 1%. The hero of the day is not HDFC Bank, because it was up 3%, now it's just up 2%. ICICI Bank was down 1%, it is now up 1%. So it's actually gained about a couple of percentage points in the session today. But aside of that, Axis Bank, Kotak Bank, SBI, some very smart recoveries in the banking names, and it's making up for the kind of miss that we're seeing in IT as well as Reliance Industry. So that's the story of the day. Banks are the story of the day. They continue to do well, even as IT is taken a bit of a step back, and Reliance too is trading in the red. The broader market, Samina, though, no complaints there. The breadth is looking okay.
It is. In fact, we talked about this, right? The story of HDFC Bank was expected to spread and maybe cause peer bank buying, and that's exactly what's happened. So while the news flow was positive on HDFC Bank, it is stocks like ICICI Bank and Kotak that have turned around and are doing quite well in terms of trade. That's a lot of what the analyst and Neeraj as well had pointed out in morning trade. Well, the breadth of the market, like it seems, is well placed. It's no concerns in terms of what action we are seeing. The Nifty 500 is trading in with a small gain, but nevertheless a positive up move. 0.5% gains on Nifty 500 is what we have. In terms of the stocks that we have, topping the list is Castrol. We'll of course take you through what's happening on the counter as we go along through the show. But for now, 15.5% high on Castrol is what we have. MMTC is up 11%. So interestingly, none of the morning gainers are the gainers of the afternoon today. So whatever was gaining at the market opening is actually now taking a step back, and we've got a new sort of set of counters that are picking up and seeing buying interest from 12 o'clock this afternoon. So MMTC, Castrol, Mazgaon Docks, it was about time, a few days behind since Mazgaon Dock, a Cochin shipyard, have moved. Today, of course, those counters are not doing too badly. Gujarat Pipavav, Welspun, Sterling, Glenmark. So no trend emerging as such, but stock-specific trade is what's driving today's action. Yesterday, we caught up with Sanghi Motors Movers to give you a sense of what was happening in that industry, and of course did a very clear comparison to Ace Construction. Today, that stock is one of your top volume gainers. On the sell side, paper stocks have seen some profit taking. Chola Finance Holding, which has been gaining quite well over the last few days, is also looking slightly weaker. Prestige, which was a gainer yesterday, is seeing weakness today. Soba, so even auto tire stocks and real estate to join IT are seeing some softness in the session as we see it. So, but all in all, it's not a market that looks concerning. Broader markets are up 0.5%. The benchmark looks okay, but it's the 4 banks that contribute to nearly 100-point gain on the Nifty index as we see it. So 24257 is what we have, a 132-point up move on the index at record levels. Richit Jain joins in of 5 Paisa to talk to us about how he feels about the technicals of the chart. Richit looks very comfortable on the index, even though it's pretty much come in only from the 4 large banks, today's gains. Are you constructive on the Nifty? Further rally, further gains likely at this stage?
Yes, hi, very good afternoon, Samina. Very good afternoon, Neeraj. Well, there's no doubt about the broader trend, which is still on the positive side, and we are seeing that in last 3 weeks, some of the other heavyweights are keeping the uptrend intact. First, it was the private sector banks. Then we saw good momentum in the heavyweights such as Reliance Industries. Then some of the IT names have witnessed good recovery from lower levels. So again, banking space has resumed that move uptrend today. So this clearly indicates that the uptrend still would continue, led by the heavyweights. And if you look at the data, then what we can see that 82% of the positions of FIs are in the index future segment are on the long side, and 34% is the only long short ratio of the client section, which includes retail traders, HNIs. So, and these positions of FIs had been formed before expiry, which had been rolled to this series. So I think they are sitting quite comfortably, in profits, and I don't see any kind of panic happening there, which should lead to profit booking or unwinding of positions as of now. But yes, that 34% long short ratio, where about 66% positions are on the short side, and since the market are not retracing, those positions I think could come to cover. So that short covering, if comes from the client section where more positions on the short side, that would add fuel to this rally. So I think till we get any kind of reversal signs or change in the data, it's better to stay in the direction of the trend. And if we take out retracements of the previous corrections, then 24,600 is where the next resistance would be seen. So I think we are quite heading towards that 24,600 mark very soon.
Oh, lovely, and it may happen, for all you know, even before the series ends. A quick word from you on Bank Nifty before we talk to you about your top trades this afternoon.
So even the broader trend for Bank Nifty is quite positive. Last week we witnessed the Bank Nifty index made a high of around 53,180. Then just 2 or 3 trading sessions, minor corrections were there, but the index did not break its important support, and that overbought setups which were there on the lower time frame chart, that also has been relieved. So if you look at the heavyweights such as HDFC Bank, Axis Bank, ICICI Bank, none of these stocks broke that 20 DMA, even the short-term support of 20 DMA in this 3 or 4 days of correction. So I think that uptrend in the banking space is also likely to continue.
Right, and Richard, what are your top stock trades this afternoon?
So we are focusing more on heavyweights as of now, as we have seen that no major momentum or up move is led by the heavyweights. So Power Grid and Tata Consumer, these are two index stocks which I am recommending for today. So Power Grid, a good amount of consolidation has been seen, which just seems to be a time-wise correction within an uptrend. So before it resumes its uptrend, I think one can take long positions over here with stop below 325 for potential targets of 352. And Tata Consumer is another name which has already gone through a corrective phase in last 2 or 3 weeks. The stock has corrected from the highs, and around its support today we have witnessed a good price volume action where RSI has given positive crossover. Price up move has been supported higher than average volumes. So again, since the stock is around its support, I think the risk reward ratio here too is favorable to take some contra trades. With the stop below 1090, one can go long on Tata Consumer as well, with stop targets around 1200 to 1220.
Right. Also, I want to quickly talk to you about a few more stocks that are drawing my attention. Those are insurance names. ICICI Lombard, of course, has a buy call that's coming, but it's also ICICI Prudential that's doing quite well in trade. Intermittently we hear about a few stocks that don't look too bad. Even the insurance as a sector is a boring sector, right? So I know traders don't really love this to that extent. But anything here, anything that you're constructive on, Richard?
So, Samina, yes, there have been relative underperformance. I think compared to the markets, they have not given that high returns. That's why the traders' attention is not there much. But in terms of stock specific, I think there are a couple of names which are looking quite positive technically. One you already mentioned, ICICI Lombard, where the stock has surpassed its previous highs, and again gradually rising volumes are there. So this is one stock which positionally could do well, and we can expect levels around 2000. On the lower side, 1750, 1800 would now be seen as a very important support on any declines. And SBI Life would be second stock where, in case if one is looking for some delivery-based buying, then I think here too the risk-reward ratio is favorable, as the prices have already seen a corrective phase since the month of March. March highs were around 1570, from where it corrected around to about 1300, 1320 levels, and then a gradual up move has been seen over here. So here also I think that the worst or the corrective phase is behind. There could be some time-wise correction, but overall I think if one is looking from a delivery-based perspective, then downside seems to be very limited from here on. So if one can keep patience, then I think yes, insurance is the space where one can look for buying opportunities in stocks such as SBI Life and ICICI Lombard.
Yep, ICICI Lombard is now trading at the highest point of the day, so that is quite something. for this one in the session. And remember, this one is also one of the reasons why, aside of the CLSA upgrade today, there was also this JSW Jeffries upgrade yesterday on ICICI Lombard. So 2 upgrades in the last 2 days, and the stock is really revving up in trade. The third set of stocks which got an upgrade are PFC and REC. They are really up and about in the session today after Bernstein initiated an outperform rating and says that there is potential in both the companies. Now, my colleague Mihika joins in with all the reasons in that note which makes them a preferred play, in that note and otherwise. Mihika.
Yes. So, I'll start with the price targets set. For PFC, it's 620 rupees, which implies a 23.4% upside to the previous upside. And for REC, it's 653 rupees, which is a potential upside of 21%. Now, what Bernstein has pointed out that even though the stocks have doubled and tripled in the last 1 year in terms of stock performance, and their market cap has exceeded the 1.4 lakh crore range, PFC and REC's current valuations, this is your price to earnings valuations, are between 8 to 10 times the earnings, and the stocks also have better return on equity ratios as well as growth when you compare to the power peers. One of the other points that Bernstein has pointed out is that investors are underestimating the duration and the intensity of the power capex cycle. They expect 300 gigawatts to be added in the next 6 years, and that the intensity of the current cycle to be at least 2 times the previous cycle. Also, it's the lower non-performing asset risk. Now, PFC and REC either lend to government entities or private renewables. Now, historically, risk has come from private lending, but when you talk about renewable loans, they have a lower chance of default. And this is back on multiple factors like no fuel risk. They also have backing of PPA agreements, also have short execution cycles. And the last point is the provision reversals. Now, they do expect provision reversals to continue in FY25, and this is poised to benefit both the counters. 9 out of the 34 distressed thermal plants as of the 2017 list has been resolved, and 6 distressed plants are in the pipeline for NCLT resolutions. What this could lead to is a write-back of provisions. Provisions are made to for potential losses on specific assets, and a write-back is a reversal of that expense that could boost profits. And this was also seen and had actually boosted the performance of REC in FY24, where they saw 13,584 crores of provision write-backs, and 710 crores came from Q4 itself as 2 NCLTs got resolved. And the company also plans to become a zero NPA company. No fresh NPAs have been added by the company in the last 8 quarters, and they expect the resolution of 2 Maharashtra projects, and this could lead to a write-backs of around 1,500 to 2,000 crores for REC.
Okay. Thanks, Mihika, and those stocks are doing really well for themselves in trade. What we do is take a quick break. On the other side of the break, we speak to Bajaj Auto, and as we hit that break, Elara Capital's Rupesh Sankhe expects 45 lakh crore rupees of investments in the power sector in the next decade, and hence maybe his optimism around some of these stocks. Listen in.
In the next 10 years, we are expecting close to 45 lakh crore kind of investment in the entire power ecosystem, like from generation, transmission and distribution, and other smart metering, all these schemes which are there. So close to 45 lakh crore of investment opportunity in the next 10 to 12 is huge. If you look at the current their portfolio, asset portfolio, I think they can easily achieve 14-15% kind of loan disbursement towards the power sector. So, and which is very strong. And in terms of the NPA issues, we don't see any kind of NPA issues there also, because most of these are low cost segment like renewable energy, new energy verticals are there. So that issue is also not there. So definitely in terms of loan disbursement, they are very well placed and to grab these strong opportunities which are there. So we as a house are positive on PFC and REC from the current levels because of this kind of opportunities which are there in the next 10 to 12 years.
back. You're watching India Market Close. It's a pleasant day of trade, more or less on expected lines. We were expecting the markets to close in positive territory. Remember, global cues were fairly solid. We had a strong handover from Wall Street. Asia was doing well. There were no concerns on the street. HDFC Bank was supposed to take the lead. Along with that, it's taken its whole sector higher, including a Kotak and an ICICI Bank. Those are the top contributors, remember, to the Nifty's move in trade right now. Broader markets also looking good, but no trend emerging there. A couple of sectors that are seeing a little bit of pressure is IT, real estate, and you've also got a little bit of weakness amongst auto and auto ancillary. Ruchit, if I've got to use today's flat trade or weakness in these sectors as an opportunity for trade over the next 2 to 3 days, would you buy, say, tire stocks? Would you buy auto stocks? Tire was a theme for the last couple of days, but it's been a little somber now. Maybe current flatness is an opportunity to go in, you think, for a few days?
I think the stocks have already seen a good up move in last 1 week. So we may see some more pullback move before resuming its uptrend. So I think one should look for such stocks where there's a good outperformance seen. But in tire stocks, I would wait for some more decline. Maybe Apollo Tyres, if we get on dips around 520, 515, that would be the support range for the stock. So I won't be in a hurry to buy at current levels. But in case if we get any dip towards the support, then one can use that as a buying opportunity.
Right. Ruchit, hang in there. We've also got, talking about auto, we've got Rakesh Sharma, ED of Bajaj Auto, now joining in to talk to us about how business is looking and looking ahead, what can we expect. And of course, they've also launched or talked about their launch, the CNG bike, the first ever in the country. Afternoon, Mr. Sharma. Thanks a ton for joining in. So, Sharma, we've seen numbers for June, but let's look ahead now. Going into the next few months, July and August, how is business panning out, or what are you expecting? Exports also not looking too promising, and this is not just you. I believe industry-wide, there's a little bit of a downtick that industry majors are anticipating. Where do you see growth over the next few months?
Good afternoon. Well, you see this quarter, at least for two-wheelers and three-wheelers, is a small quarter because July and December usually are the lowest months and which offer very little flexibility. And then you have the monsoons in most of the parts of the country in August. September slightly starts to build up in anticipation of the festive season, which this year entirely lies in October. So to begin with, July to September quarter will be a low quarter. But having said that, if we do a like-for-like comparison with last year, I think we should be looking at 6 to 8% growth for the industry in this quarter. That is what the trend from quarter one is suggesting. And I would also say that trend which really got started in February, March, those trends are suggesting that at least the motorcycle industry should grow at 6 to 8%, which I think is a very good performance for an industry as large as this. And coming on the back of, underperformance for a few years, 6 to 8% is a good growth if it happens. We hope to outpace this growth because this growth is weighted in favor of the top half of the industry, where we have got a lot of play, and we have been over many quarters, previous quarters, been outpacing the industry and gaining market share. So a small quarter, but will continue on a growth trajectory. And I think we should be able to outpace the industry, largely due to our play in the top half. When it comes to export, I don't think it is a dismal view, as you seem to suggest. In fact, I think there is an improvement in exports month on month over the last few months, albeit a marginal improvement. And but at least the direction-wise, the graph is now pointing upwards, but it's going to be very slow and steady. Latin America is almost, at least for us, the industry is in double-digit growth. ASEAN is doing well, particularly Philippines. That is in double-digit growth. South Asia, still an issue, places like Bangladesh, etc., but Sri Lanka, Nepal are recovering well. Africa is an issue. and particularly Nigeria and a few other countries like Kenya, Congo, etc. This is where we are still in decline. Though I would say that if you compare June to April, even a country like Nigeria has improved. So I would say that overall exports is showing growth sequentially, but at a very steady pace, very small pace.
Right. Thank you for that, Mr. Sharma. So it's a good-looking picture, and a 6 to 8% growth is what the industry is you're expecting from the industry. And of course, like you said, an outpacing by yourself is likely. You own a significant chunk of the market share. I think 18% is what I remember in terms of the last financial year. Looking ahead, how is market share gains looking? Have you managed to expand your base, and where do you see that at the end of this financial year?
Well, our objective is to gain every quarter, and we have been for some time now focused on the top half of the industry, like I said, where we have progressively gained about 1% every quarter. And I would say we are just a percentage or 2 percentage points behind. We are away by about 1 or 2 percentage points from leadership of the top half, which is the 125cc plus segment. So we continue that march towards leadership in the coming quarters. In the bottom half of the industry, as you know, we are now going to make a significant play over there because, almost 75% of the Indian industry is very mileage sensitive in two-wheelers. And we are launching day after tomorrow the CNG bike. And we are hoping that as the months and the quarters progress, this will offer us significant inroads into the market share in the bottom half of the industry as well.
Mr. Sharma, a lot of launches. I mean, it was Pulsar 400 in May, new Chetak variant, now the CNG bike. How exciting are times for new launches, and where is it that you're the most hopeful based on responses or assumptions?
Well, we are quite excited about the whole spectrum. In fact, I would say that the entire portfolio, which has been completely reinvigorated since last year for the Pulsar portfolio, almost every single model has performed, which is starting from the new Pulsar 150s, the Pulsar 160s, and recently upgraded Pulsar 250s and the NS 400Z, which has just started to go into the market. I mean, even before we have started to, the retails have started, but we have bookings of over 2,500 units, which is the top of the top segment. And there has been the new Husqvarna launches. And of course, now, like you said, there is the Chetak. The early indications from the last 15 days after the launch of the Chetak 2901 are quite spectacular. We are finding that in July itself, you will see a quantum shift in our sales in Chetak, because we can see the daily booking rate has risen. And now, of course, there is the CNG, which, will take time to ramp up. And but it holds a lot of promise because it is attacking a very large pool of customers, the target customers is a very, very big pool for the CNG bike. So I would say this is, it's quite satisfying that almost entirely in their own segments and sub-segments, all the 8 or 9 launches of motorcycles have done reasonably well. And the early indications of some of the new ones is also quite positive. So we are optimistic about the new portfolio which we have.
And just tying it in with the belief about rural having picked up a little bit, and maybe they're being done something on the rural consumption end this time around as well. If that were to turn out to be true, Mr. Sharma, is there a shot in the arm for everybody competing in that space? Maybe not your portfolio, not as large, but I'm still trying to understand. Do you reckon it'll be a shot in the arm for you too?
Well, you see, I have always held the view that the rural and urban divide is just a matter of distribution. More than a quarter of our top selling NS pulsars we sell in what you call rural areas. And similarly, that is the kind of number we sell in urban areas of our cheapest product. So to divide urban and rural based on pricing and based on other types of segment, those lines have got blurred over the last few years. People are buying high performance bikes in rural areas, and people are buying very functional commuter bikes in the urban areas. So it's a distribution issue rather than and yes, the economies are driven of urban and rural are driven by different factors. So I would say that we have a portfolio which is targeted to rural or targeted to urban. So if there is a rural economy which kicks in, I think it is going to have a very good impact on across our portfolio. And that is rolled into our expectation of 6 to 8% growth for the industry.
Very lastly, Mr. Sharma, while I think market participants have been waiting with bated breath to see the industry return back to its good old days of double-digit growth, in your assessment, how long out are we, and what are the challenges that are keeping the industry away from growing in the early double digits?
Well, I would say that, first of all, a double-digit growth for an industry like ours is a lofty growth. But I'm also conscious of the fact that the industry reached its peak in 18-19, and ever since then, it has not got back to that level. Though we expect by end of this year, financial year, or the beginning of financial year, we should be getting to the run rate which had been achieved at the peak year of 18-19. The industry, I would say, the motorcycle penetration in India is still low when you compare it with similar type of economies like Indonesia, etc. I think the powered two wheels make a significant difference to a person's life in that segment. These are customers who are earning between 30 to 50,000 rupees a month, and their productivity, their ability to travel, their ability to get to jobs which are slightly far away from where they live, etc., really gets enhanced when they get on top of a motorcycle. So there is our demographics in our population is on our side. So there is still a long runway of growth left for the industry. Now, what comes in the way, as you know, is the purchasing power. And this is, motorcycles are taxed at 28%. Now, the GST is 28%. Now, the government has its own pulls and pressures, and they have to do a balancing act. One understands that. But if I take a parochial view as a motorcycle manufacturer and as a motorcycle industry person, then I would say that this is one of the things which could uncork growth. If we brought down the acquisition cost for the ordinary customer, it will certainly see because bikes to begin with are underpenetrated, the demographics in our side, and people want them. So I would say that that was definitely an issue. And other than that, I think the economic recovery has started to reach the segments of the country who are into the motorcycle purchase cycle. And that is very positive. They become optimistic. If that sort of thing continues, the inflation is held back, the optimism also drives people to, buy new motorcycles or the first time buyers to get into the purchase cycle.
Right. Sharma, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you very much for sharing perspective with us on Bajaj Auto, the quarter ahead, and of course, the industry outlook. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back and close out the last 30 minutes of trade. It's been a good Wednesday for the street.
right, back with India market close right here on NDTV Profit. Let's go across to Agam, who's standing by to break down the FNOQs for us today. Agam, penultimate day to the weekly expiries, and how is it looking?
It's looking good, Neeraj. Of course, while we are looking at the penultimate day for the weekly Nifty expiry, it is also the Bank Nifty weekly options expiry today. And it just so happens that that big HDFC move has actually led to a lot of short covering for the banking index, and which has actually led to the index moving even higher at this point in time. The Nifty Bank, in fact, standing at around 53,000, and a whopping 18.5% increase in open interest towards what looks like fresh longs at this point in time. And in terms of the options market, we'll quickly address what's happening at the Nifty. Sure, where we are seeing now even more traction around 24,000 puts, but now we're more and more traction around 24,202. So it does seem like in the near term, a lot of traders are still bullish at this point in time. And remember, there's been a little bit of an unwinding when it comes to 24,500 calls as well. I reckon some amount of traction towards the lower end too. But let's talk about the Bank Nifty. Remember, until yesterday, we did have a considerable amount of open interest in the 52,500 and 600 calls. But a lot of that got completely wiped out very earlier on in the session. A lot of those traders were forced out of their positions, and that led to a bout of short covering. And because of that, well, we've now seen the Nifty move above the mark of 53,000, and it does seem like we're going to close slightly above that. So since then, we now have more and more traction around the 53,100 calls and puts as well, moving into today's expiry. As far as stocks are concerned, largely a lot of them from the financial space, Axis Bank, HDFC Bank, Canfin Homes looking at fresh longs, and say for Ashok Leyland, which is looking at shorts. Short covering for MGL, Ipca Labs, Tata Consumer, even in terms of India Cement or PFC for that matter. Of course, PFC and REC are also on focus on account of that Bernstein note that came through. But all in all, it's yet another good day of trade after a very subdued movements over the past couple of sessions, where the strength, it seems, is continuing. It's a wait and watch whether or not how long it goes on till, and whether or not we actually do see some profit taking over the course of the next couple of days. But that's a wait and watch. That.
Indeed, Agam, and that's always a tough one to call, when that profit taking will emerge. But for now, it's stable, and that's what's comforting for straight participants. While some may argue that the markets look stretched and maybe expensive, let's not forget we've not done much better than the rest of the world. So the global equity markets pretty much moving in tandem with each other. The Nifty as well over the last few days, while it has made record highs, it's come in on enormous amount of stability and good volume. So that's what we'd be taking heart from right now. G. Chokalingam now joins in with his view on the markets. Chokalingam, afternoon. Thanks for joining in. Let's start with how you feel. We were just talking about how some argue that a correction, profit taking is around the corner. But those were the people who were also talking about an impending correction since a year now. So if you've been on the sidelines in anticipation of a correction, you've probably lost out already. Do you feel like it's now only a matter of weeks that the markets will top off?
I firmly believe that there is no need to fear at all about Sensex and Nifty. That's a broader market. I think they are entering another phase of the bull market. Why I am saying, for three reasons. One, this is the first time in the history, the 5th-year small and mid-cap indices are outperforming the Sensex and Nifty. And Sensex and Nifty have underperformed very, very badly. This is the time to correct this relative underperformance. And second, if you look at Sensex, the trading fee is around 24. And industry estimate of earning growth, if you see, it's about average 12.5% for the next 2 years, FY25 and FY26. So if I extrapolate that into corporate earning, which can grow 2 times the GDP, then definitely by end of current calendar year, we should see Sensex of 90,000. By end of 2025 calendar year, we should see Sensex of 1 lakh. And also, there is a structural change in terms of entry of the new investors. 10 crore new investors have come into the market. So there is an enormous scope for, pushing up the market. So fear is on small and mid cap, but certainly there is no fear at all for Sensex and Nifty or large caps. But theoretically, there are only two risk factors, possible risk factors. One, the monsoon. Last year we had a 6% deficit rainfall, and this year, as of yesterday, around 10% deficit, and 50% of the subdivisions have failed to receive adequate rainfall. So, by any chance, the monsoon becomes a massive failure, or by any chance there is a political instability in India. I mean that is not my wish, that is not my forecast also. But since I am giving an extremely bullish view, I want to give theoretical possibilities also. So if such case happens, then even the Sensex and Nifty can crack in a big way. But otherwise, I believe this is the second phase of bull run, which just started in last couple of weeks, where the Sensex and Nifty are doing far better, and they will continue to do extremely well in the next 1.5 years.
So what are you buying, Mr. Chokkalingam, in such a scenario? Last few times you've been very careful. You mostly said all of these stocks you were not comfortable buying at these valuations. But if you're so bullish on the market, what are your top two ideas?
I'm sorry, I just want to correct. I've never been negative on the market. Only small.
On specific stocks, I mean.
Yeah. So definitely, in the large cap, we have been recommending stocks like Infosys, HDFC Bank. And in the small and mid cap, we have added stocks like Innova, CapTab, Albert David, Indoco Remedies, and recently TTK Healthcare and Sterling Tools. These are some of the great value picks, I believe. Even if there is a crash in the small and mid cap, these stocks, because of the inherent sound fundamentals underlying, they would provide a lot of cushion. Otherwise, we have been suggesting clients to invest minimum 50% into the large cap stocks.
Okay. Innova CapTab. It's a less than 3,000 crore market cap company, Mr. Chokkalingam. Why do you like this? What's the story here?
This is a recent IPO. IPO was around 458, and it was subscribed to 55 times, and it went very high and then corrected a lot. Now they are basically into CDMA business and also into API and generics in India. And they have got a network of 1.25 lakh the retail shops selling their generics. And if you look at the old valuation, it's around 2.8 times enterprise value to sales. The latest chemical weekly I just saw before coming on the channel, there are a couple of CDMA companies which were acquired at even 4 times enterprise value to sales, whereas this is available at 2.8 times. The valuation also comfortable at around 32 PE, which is very reasonable compared to similar businesses. And lastly, most importantly, they are investing 750 crore in Jammu Kashmir state, where they got a fantastic, the fiscal concession from the government to the extent of 250 crore of GST concession. So all this would augur well for the company. So I remain extremely optimistic on Innova CapTab.
So if you're looking for small mid-cap value ideas, Innova CapTab is topping that list. Chokkalingam, I'd like to talk to you about recent listings, and Allied Blenders comes up. Actually, why don't you tell us, what did you think of yesterday's listing, Allied Blenders? Premiumization, alcohol seems to be a theme that the markets are finding value in. Do you think, did you subscribe to that? Do you like it? What are your views on Allied Blenders?
I looked at it, the past performance, particularly last 2 financial year, the bottom line performance doesn't give much comfort. And the other way to look at branded liquor companies, to look at the sales, EV to sales, there also it is trading at around, 7 to 8 times. I think that current price it is fairly priced.
Also, Ruchit, I want to talk to you about, in fact, 17 rupees added to that counter. So it's another 5.5% up move, adding to that 13% gain yesterday. Ruchit, KEC, how does that one look on the charts? It was a big order win today for RVNL and KEC both. And KEC is looking pretty good from the way it seems. Do you have a view on the stock?
The technical structure is quite positive. If we look at recently, the stock initially had seen a support base getting formed around 700, 720 during the early part of June when most of the stocks corrected. And since then, we have seen a gradual up move where the 20 DMA has acted as a good support in consolidation as well. And that support has now shifted to 850 levels. So till it is above that 850 mark, I think the broader uptrend continues, although we have not seen any kind of follow-up move after gap up opening today, but still the supports are intact. So if any existing long positions are there, then one can keep a stop loss below 850 and ride this trend.
Right, that's the view coming in on KEC. The stock was up about 6 to 7% earlier this morning. It's off the day's high point, but still looking good with a 2% gain. We caught up with Vimal Kejriwal on this big order and to get a sense of what lies ahead for the company. Listen in.
Our order book is virtually at the same level because, we have had our quarterly execution also coming in a way. But I'll say my L1s are now around 8,000. So if you look at that way, we are 30 plus 8, around 38,000 would be broadly the order book plus L1. And as far as execution is concerned, what we have said is that we did around 20,000 crore last year, and we should have a growth of around 15%. So we should be executing around 23,000 crores of this order book.
Pull up RBL Bank. It's done quite well actually, 4 to 5% gains on the stock. Richard, you want to come in on some of these banks? Federal Bank, RBL Bank, they all seem to be enjoying quite a sharp rally in trade right now. So barring maybe a few names, most banking stocks are doing well, but very specifically mid-cap PSU banks. What is your top pick here?
So I think, yes, we could see some good momentum in the overall banking space. We already spoke about the large cap stocks which have taken the leadership. Now, some mid-sized banks such as Federal Bank has been forming the high top, high bottom structure. So I think this is one of the stocks which we can see a good relative outperformance continued. Now the stock has good support around 173. So one can keep a stop loss below 173 and go long on Federal Bank. RBL Bank is on the verge of a breakout. So I think the follow-up move maybe in tomorrow's trading session would be very important to see. Previously, whenever the stock has seen any kind of pullback moves, there has been resistance seen around 270, 272. So if we see a breakout about 272 in tomorrow's trading session, then I think that could be a good follow-up momentum in RBL Bank as well.
Okay. Talking about ideas and where opportunity sits in the market, we caught up with Dr. Narayan earlier this morning to get an understanding of what he thinks about the next few months in terms of trade and whether there are some of the sectors that have bottomed out. Case in point being chemical space. Here are his view.
I think infra as a theme definitely has a lot more legs to run. I really wouldn't be too gung-ho about chemical stocks. I think chemical stocks today are where IT stocks were some time ago, where people were finding value. And then they kept finding value, but the value did not emerge at all. And then they have this periodic runs with the market. So I think chemicals belongs there. Chemical sector is also so varied that very difficult for a individual investor to know which chemical price is going up or where capacities are failing or getting added or all that gamut of things. So I don't think I'll put my money into chemicals as a theme, but certainly infra as a theme is something I would definitely want to play, and within that cement would be part and parcel of it. There is an offbeat theme which is emerging, and there aren't too many well-known stocks there, but this data center thing is something that I'm paying a very close attention to. I think lots of allied sectors and segments which are tied to this data center theme. So that I think would be a very big emerging theme into the future because technology, real estate, and cable, and so many things are tied to the data center thing. So I think that would be a very interesting area going forward.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's cement, and he likes cement. He liked IEX, and one more, Mr. Chokalingam. Fundamentally, come in. So Dr. Sikinarayan spoke about ACC Ambuja. He spoke about IEX. Amongst others. Do you like either of these two buckets?
Definitely, one can continue to hold cement stocks because of 7% growth projected. And also there will be more consolidation happening in the industry. So apart from this, one can consider Sagar Cement. Personally, we do not hold, but this is another stock we have recommended recently. It is trading at just $50 per ton EV to capacity. And recent deals are happening at around $80. And also the size is much bigger. Its capacity is more than 10 billion tons. And it has got some land bank in Vizag. It has got a very good limestone mine. And also the renewable energy, captive energy source is very substantial. So definitely one can consider buying Sagar Cement. And also if there is any marginal fall, one can buy stocks like ACC.
Richard, Vodafone idea. Few days in the waiting, the stocks are finally up in today's trade. where is the path for Vodafone and Indus? And I'll add Bharti Airtel to it as well, because it's always a preferred count, at least fundamentally, in the telecom space.
Within the telecom space, I think Indus Tower, if we look at them here, the trend seems to be the strongest. Because we have seen a good amount of consolidation in the month of May and first half of June, but that entire consolidation, the stock managed to form a good support around its Sunday time EMA, and the stock has again resumed its uptrend. So I think here the uptrend up move could continue. If we look at some of the positional charts and the potential targets for the stock over short to medium term, we see it around 440 to 440. 440 to 450. So I think still about decent up move could be seen in the Indus Towers. Even Bharti Airtel, the overall structures remains quite positive, but just from a short-term perspective, I think the stock has entered some corrective phase, but this just seems to be a correction within an uptrend. In case if we get any kind of the dip around 1350 to 1330 range, I think that's where the support would come in for the stock. So here I would suggest to keep a buy on dip strategy.
Choka, what do you think about telecom stocks? Is it looking good? I mean, the tariff hike didn't boost the stock performance in a few days, but today is the first day Vodafone is up after that tariff hike.
No, certainly the sector has an excellent prospect. As all of us know, the hike in the tariff has been anywhere from 3 to as much as 25%. And in future also further hike would be possible, because the government also would be a beneficiary of rise in the income of telecom sector. But when I looked at EV to EBITDA, Bharti Airtel looks far cheaper than Vodafone. So therefore, I would prefer Bharti Airtel to Vodafone if at all one has to invest in the telecom space.
Richard, it is so difficult to trade this defense sector. Yeah? I mean, you look at Mazgaon Docks, Cochin Shipyard, Garden Reach, BEL, they've been moving so swiftly, and I think most traders would get afraid, because you'd imagine that the stock now eventually will top out. But every week, one of the defense stocks will give you 20% returns. How do you feel about this space? And if I had to ask you for one defense stock to trade between now and next Friday, what would it be?
A clear outperformance has been seen from the defense space, and there are no signs of reversal as of now. Yes, I think the only fear is that the stock has rallied. The stocks have rallied too much in a very short period of time. But I think that's the sign of a strength, and that outperformance could continue until we see any signs of reversal. So I think BEL, Bharat Electronics, would be one of the name within the defense space where the stock is looking good technically. We have recently seen a price up move followed by a consolidation in last couple of weeks. The 20 EMA support is still intact in this consolidation phase. 300 is now seen as a very strong support. So till this short-term support is intact, I think BEL could see some decent up move. But yes, some high beta names such as Mazgaon Docks, GRAC, Cochin Shipyard, they are also positive. But you need to have guts to enter even at higher levels and keep some appropriate stop losses and ride the trend. Until we see any kinds of reversal patterns getting formed, it's better to trade in the direction of the trend in these names.
Right, that's the word on defense stocks that seem to be catching most traders and analysts off guard. But that's Cochin Shipyard for you, 9%. And Mazgaon Docks also eking out similar gains. It was Garden Reach last few days. There you go, Mazgaon Docks is up 9%. Garden Reach is still up another 3%. Just pull up Garden Reach. Let's just see what it's done in the last 5 days of trade. I'm assuming the gains would be upward of 20 to 25%. If we can pull that one up, it should be useful. It did an order win of 1,100 crores 2 days ago, and there you go, 26% on Garden Reach in the last 5 days. But the few other names, boring nevertheless, is ICICI Lombard. This one has been gaining on back of an upgrade. Remember, CLSA has upgraded the stock to an outperform. The counter is seeing some activity, and this is also leading to the rest of the insurance pack doing quite well today. Mahima is joining us with more details on this upgrade. Mahima, it's over to you. Why have they upgraded ICICI Lombard?
Right, Samina. So as you rightly mentioned, they've upgraded ICICI Lombard to outperform with a price target of 2,000, and they've also raised the price target from 1,760 earlier, which gives a potential upside of 11% compared to its yesterday's closing. Now, the reasons that they've mentioned is, first one, that motor insurance premiums were up 31% in the last 2 months for the company as compared to 15% of the industry average. The peers' motor third-party loss ratio is worsening worsening, and this is the key reason why ICICI Lombard is gaining. They've also said that premiumization of cars, benefits from the Motor Vehicle Act could also be aiding the motor book for the company. Lastly, they're also saying that they've raised overall premium growth estimate by only 2 PPT in FY25 and believes momentum in the motor book could persist. So these are the reasons why CLSA is bullish on ICICI Lombard.
Thanks, Mahima, for that. Mr. Chokalingam, do you buy the argument? Yesterday, Jefferies, today, CLSA, they are constructive there. They are slow-moving stocks. Do you like them? Do you like ICICI Lombard?
Yeah, certainly. I looked at it. The recent performance is very good in terms of business parameters. I think at least around 2,000 could be a fair price for ICICI Lombard.
Okay. Ruchit, I don't know if we spoke about your top closing strategy, but even if we have, could you speak about one top name today?
So I think if we look at the performers amongst the performers today, then I think Tata Consumer is one stock which is looking quite positive. I spoke about it at the start of the show also, and the closing is also very nice, supported by high volume action and closing around the day's high. So I think this is one stock where if one is looking to take some overnight positions, then one can create fresh longs even at current levels.
Ruchit, I'll come back to you on IEX, but before that, Mr. Chokalingam, Solar Industries was up and about in trade yesterday, another 8% today. Now this is 1,07,000 crores of market capitalization. Some serious price movement here. We spoke about Ruchit with the defense names. What about you? Do you like solar, for example?
No, honestly, I have not looked at the performance in Q4, so I'm not able to comment on it.
Seller in Mazagon Dock, or would you hold into Mazagon Dock?
I would sell.
You would sell into the strength currently. Okay, but a lot of other names. Remember, I think Zen Technologies is up in trade. GRSC or Cochin Shipyard also, I think, have done well. Cochin Shipyard is up about 8.5%. So some of these defense names have done really, really well for themselves in trade today. Garden Reach is up too, but Cochin Shipyard is up about 8% if I'm not wrong. Zen Technologies is locked on an upper circuit. Some of these stocks have done really well for themselves. Okay, Ruchit, IEX, power was a very active pocket today. This one came out with good numbers, hasn't reacted. In fact, in the red now. A lot of people are constructive here, but it somehow flatters to deceive usually. Would you sell it?
Not really. We have already seen a good corrective phase in this stock. December 2021 was when the stock went X bonus 2:1. The stock made a high of around 300 levels. From that 300, from December 2021, there has been a long period of underperformance or pain, we can say, where the stock corrected from 300 to about 120, 130 kind of range. And now after that price-wise correction, we have also seen a decent time-wise correction getting passed by. So a high top, high bottom structure has recently resumed in the stock. And if you look at the volumes have started increasing gradually. It might be a game of patience. If you are a day trader or looking from a very short-term perspective, then it may not give that high returns in very near term. But yes, this is one stock where the worst seems to be behind. So if you can keep some patience and holding existing long positions even at higher levels, then I think this is one stock which one can continue to hold on. If any fresh buying has to be done for averaging, then I think still you at current levels or any kind of declines towards 170. I think this is a good buy if one is looking from a positional perspective.
Ruchit, quick 20-second answer. A stock which is trading at new highs is KPIT Tech. I mean, it's all the tech stocks coming off today. This one is up another 3.5. Quick 20-second answer, Ruchit. Numbers?
Yeah, Neeraj, so it's looking quite positive. 1800, I think, is one can expect in next 1 or 2 trading sessions. So if I think this is a good BTST as well, if one has to go long, keep a stop loss below 1670 and go long for 1800 kind of targets.
Yeah, these are expensive valuations for some of these businesses, but these days, the stocks are getting bid up left, right, center. Indus Tower today, a case in point, it's rallied so strongly and it's up another 3.5% today. So very strong moves for some of those stocks. Okay, Ruchit as well as Mr. Chokalingam, thanks so much for joining in today and giving us your thoughts. Really appreciate your time. Let's start wrapping up the market, viewers, and bring up the heat map. Maybe the Nifty once, but otherwise the heat map straight is also okay. Let's just show specific stocks. Reliance and TCS sulking, but we ending with some serious strength. Well above 24,200, by the way, where the maximum call concentration was. So it'll be really interesting to see what the option activity is today. And broad-based move. Yes, banks are leading, but it's not just banks. Tata Consumer up, Adani Ports up 2.5%. There is strength in Power Grid as well. Apollo Hospitals, Eicher Motors from the two-wheeler space. Bajaj Finance, JSW Steel, it's across the board that we're seeing these moves. And the moves are not just restricted to the large cap space, by the way. The small cap end was up 0.7%. If we bring up the BSE 500 winners and losers on the screen next, interesting to see the set of stocks there. Look at those gains. So let me start with the losers because there are not too many out there. But some weakness for a JK paper after the gains yesterday. Prestige Estates weakens after real estate did very well yesterday. Some of the holding companies may be weak because Chola Holding is topping the list. But the gainers. Castrol is a separate kettle of fish. Up 12%. We don't see too many reasons there. But there is strength in defense. Mazgon, Solar, Ocean Shipyard doing well. MMTC does well. Rallis does well. Hudco does well. Some very strong moves there. Wokhard yet again is up another 5 or 6% as we close. And frankly, if you look at the last 7-day chart for a Wokhard, will come up on your screen next. Let's get Wokhard up on the screen. Just the kind of moves that the stock has made is so stunning and just shows that how the market is happy to go out and bid up a stock. 1 week, 40% gains, quite strong really. Up another 5% in the session today, 885 and counting. So some of the stocks have moved up really strongly. Probably holds true for a Mazgon Dock, a Zentech and some of the defense names as well. So very strong showing. Let's see if some of these things last over the next 2 days of the current week. But that's it on this leg of India Market Close. From all of us who put the show together, thanks so much for watching.
आज राष्ट्रपति का अभिभाषण का धन्यवाद प्रस्ताव में रिप्लाई करते हुए बहुत अच्छी तरह से अपने बात को रखा है। मैं लोकसभा स्पीकर और हमारे आदरणीय वाइस प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ इंडिया, हमारे उप राष्ट्रपति जी जो राज्यसभा के सभापति हैं, दोनों के साथ साथ पूरे जो सेक्रेटरीट लोकसभा के, राज्यसभा के सेक्रेटरी जनरल और पूरा स्टाफ को भी धन्यवाद देता हूं। बहुत अच्छी तरह से ये पहला सेशन 18th लोकसभा का और 264th सेशन राज्यसभा का चलाने में हमारे संसदीय कार्य मंत्रालय के हमारे दोनों साथी मंत्री अर्जुन मेघवाल जी जो लोकसभा को देखते हैं, एल मुरुगन जी जो राज्यसभा को देखते हैं, हमारा सेक्रेटरी मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ पार्लियामेंट्री अफेयर्स नरोला जी, हमारा एडिशनल सेक्रेटरी साहब, सीनियर जितने भी अधिकारी, हम लोग जो एक टीम काम किया है। मुझे पार्लियामेंट्री अफेयर्स मंत्रालय का जिम्मेदारी मिलने का साथ साथ जिस तरीके से हमारे सीनियर ऑफिसर्स और टीम, हमारे दोनों साथी ने जो सहयोग दिया है, मुझे इस सत्र में कोई कमी, किसी चीज़ का दिक्कत होने का, महसूस होने का कोई अवसर नहीं मिला। बहुत अच्छी तरह से हाउस चलाने में हम लोग सब मिलकर के हम लोग ने अपना दायित्व निभाया है। और मीडिया के ओर से भी मैं मानता हूं कि बहुत अच्छा कवरेज, या जिस तरीके से आप लोगों ने अपना 4th पिलर ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी, ये चौथी स्तंभ है, आप लोगों ने बहुत अच्छी तरह से जो मीडिया का रोल है आप लोगों ने निभाया। तो ये एक औपचारिक और पारंपरिक दृष्टि से आज सदन बंद होने के बाद आपसे मिलने का छोटा सा ये कार्यक्रम था। आप सबको मैं फिर से धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूँ। कुछ होगा
शुरू हुआ सदन और टोटल स्पीकर के चुनाव से लेकर और अभिभाषण पर धन्यवाद प्रस्ताव को प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी के जवाब तक, तो देखा कि विपक्ष में टकराव का कोई मौका नहीं छोड़ा है, एक रास्ता तलाश करे टकराव। तो फिर इस आगे की राह कैसे देखते हैं? क्या आगे विपक्ष सबक लेगा या फिर कोई बातचीत होगी कि इस तरह का रवैया ना अपनाए?
देखिए, हमने पहले भी कहा हम संविधान से बंधे हुए हैं और नियम और परंपरा से हम आगे सदन भी चलाएंगे और सरकार भी हम चलाएंगे, देश का सेवा करते रहेंगे। विपक्ष जो है अगर सकारात्मक भूमिका निभाते हैं तो हम सब के लिए बहुत अच्छी बात होगा कि मिल करके देश चलाएंगे। हमने शुरू में कहा कि सदन में पक्ष और विपक्ष होते हैं, दोनों तालमेल होना चाहिए। एक दूसरे के विरोध जो भी बात करते हैं या पॉलिसी को क्रिटिसाइज करता है वो लोकतंत्र में तो होता ही है, लेकिन इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि आप सदन चलने नहीं देंगे। ये एक नई परंपरा कांग्रेस पार्टी ने शुरू किया है। जितना भी बोलना चाहता है आपको अधिकार दिया गया है, समय तय है, पूरा बोल सकते हैं, बोलने में तो कोई रुकावट है नहीं, लेकिन सदन को चलने नहीं देंगे ये हो नहीं सकता है, क्योंकि देश को सेवा करना है। पार्लियामेंट बंद रहेगा तो देश का सेवा कैसे करेंगे? इसलिए पार्लियामेंट को कोई बंद नहीं कर सकता है। कोई आदमी कितना भी बड़ा क्यों ना हो, देश से बड़ा नहीं है, संविधान से बड़ा नहीं है। इसलिए पार्लियामेंट को जबरदस्ती रोकने का कोशिश करेगा तो ये हो नहीं सकता है। पार्लियामेंट चलते रहेगा सुचारू रूप से, लेकिन हम हमेशा अपील करेंगे ऑपोजिशन पार्टी को कि आपको ऑपोजिशन में हमने नहीं बिठाया है, ये देश का जनता ने आपको ऑपोजिशन में बिठाया है, आपका भी रोल है। और हम अपने मर्जी से सरकार में नहीं आया। 140 करोड़ के बीच में जब चुनाव हुआ, जनता ने फैसला किया कि मोदी जी ही प्रधानमंत्री बनना चाहिए और फिर हम सरकार में आए हैं। तो हमारी मर्जी से तो हुआ नहीं है, तो वो सत्ता में नहीं आया इसलिए पार्लियामेंट चलने नहीं देंगे, ये कभी भी नहीं हो सकता है।
Is that there were many factually wrong statements that were made by the opposition, as you had claimed. But how will you counter that? Because this is a strategy that seems okay with the opposition, and I think they are going to continue with that. This is obviously a new challenge that you have.
First of all, the Congress strategy to create disruptions and create obstacle in running the House, I will be very open and categorical that even if they want to stall the parliament, we will continue to run the parliament as per rules and regulation. If they lie on the floor of the house, if they mislead the people or the honorable members, then we have mechanism in forms of rules and regulations. When the leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha kept on lying with regards to many things, including figures, facts and issues, the notice has been put to the Honorable Speaker, and we have requested Honorable Speaker to take appropriate action. We are waiting for the action. This applies to everybody. No member is above the chair, above the rule. So nobody can expect to escape. There is no, a special privilege for anybody just because somebody comes from a privileged family. Everybody is equal and honorable member of the House. So if anybody wants to misuse his position by misleading the House, they will not easily get away. Rule will catch them.
एक बोलो एक
हाँ, एक
लेकिन 18वीं लोकसभा का पहला सत्र था और जिस तरीके से हंगामेदार रहा है, आने वाले सत्र की एक पृष्ठभूमि तैयार हो रही है, लग रहा है कि कोई गतिरोध टूट पाएगा इस तरीके से।
देखिए, अभी भी निजी तौर पर कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है। मैं शुरू में प्रमुख विपक्ष के नेताओं से मिले और अभी भी मिलते हैं, वो सब भी मुझे बहुत अच्छी तरह से ग्रीटिंग्स किया और प्लेजेंटरी एक्सचेंज भी करते हैं। व्यक्ति तौर पर हम लोगों का एक दूसरे के प्रति कोई हीन भावना, कोई दुश्मनी ऐसा तो होने का कोई मतलब ही नहीं है, ऐसा हो भी नहीं सकता है। लेकिन जो प्रथा चलते आ रहा है, सिस्टम है, उसको बिगाड़ने का काम जो हमने अपील करने के बावजूद भी अपोजिशन के कुछ पार्टियों ने जो किया है, मैं उसी को खंडन करता हूँ। पर्सनली कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, आगे भी हम विपक्ष के नेताओं से, सारे साथियों से मिलते रहेंगे। जो इस सदन में चुन के आए हैं, सब इस सदन से सदस्य हैं, उनसे बात करना हमारा दायित्व है। हमारा कर्तव्य है, हम मिलते रहेंगे, हमारा कोई हीन भाव नहीं है। हमने सिर्फ इतना अपील किया है, जितना बोलना चाहिए आप बोलिए नियम के मुताबिक, लेकिन हाउस को बंद नहीं कर सकता है, क्योंकि हाउस देश का है और हम लोगों को जनता ने भेजा है, इसलिए किसी के कब्जे में हम काम नहीं करेंगे, हम संविधान के तहत हम काम करेंगे।
मैं इसमें एक ऐड करता हूँ, एक मिनट मैं ऐड करता हूँ इसी में। आपने कल देखा होगा कि जब प्रधानमंत्री जी बोल रहे थे तो कांग्रेस के लोग वेल में थे और लोग भी थे, लेकिन क्या सपा के लोग वेल में थे? क्या टीएमसी के लोग वेल में थे? ऐसे सीन आगे भी आपको देखने को मिले।
जी।
Do you think that now this issue should die down and politics should now end on this?
First of all, I would request everybody to go through what Honorable Prime Minister has said in the Rajya Sabha. In 2023 Independence Day address made by the Honorable Prime Minister, if you all remember, the opening of Honorable Prime Minister's address to the nation on the morning of the Independence Day, Honorable Prime Minister started with the appeal to the people of Manipur that the whole nation is with the people of Manipur. Honorable Prime Minister also spoke in detail in the previous 17 Lok Sabha also. So please go through what Honorable Prime Minister has in detail said about Manipur.
One day discussion.
नहीं वो तो बताइए।
Sir, I'm from Hindustan Times. Sir, in the last 2 days, whatever has happened in the Lok Sabha, especially, there is a condemnation proposal which has been passed in the House. Remarks have been expunged by the Lok Sabha Speaker. Sir, you say that more action, you have requested for more action. I want to ask you, sir, under the rules and procedures of the Parliament, what action should be and can be taken against the LLP?
Action will follow as per the rule under which the notice or appeal has been made. So if you see the provisions of the rules 115, then the Honorable Speaker will give direction to the member to furnish the detail as to why and under what circumstances he has misled the House, and he must either substantiate it or apology or whatever is necessary. Or there are other means. If he fails to do anything, then Honorable Speaker may refer the matter to the Privilege Committee. So these are options. I can't speak on behalf of Honorable Speaker. I can only make an appeal on behalf of the government or on behalf of the members from our party. हाँ जी। देखिए, फिर मैं आपको एक बात बता रहा हूँ। राष्ट्रपति का अभिभाषण पर जो चर्चा है वो बहुत ही व्यापक और पर्याप्त है। इतना समय सबको मिला, हर पार्टी, कांग्रेस को लगभग 4 घंटे करीब 3 hours 49 minutes कांग्रेस को मिले। उसमें हर मेंबर ने बोला है, वही तो बोलेंगे ना। आप अलग से मौका देंगे भी तो वही तो बात बोलेंगे जो आपने बोला है। और सरकार से भी आज प्रधानमंत्री जी ने बहुत क्लियरली कहा कि बहुत कठोर कदम उठाया गया है और आगे भी उठाएंगे। इस तरह का जो बच्चों का भविष्य के साथ खिलवाड़ करने वालों के खिलाफ सख्त से सख्त कार्रवाई करेंगे और ऐसा ना हो उसके लिए भी और कठोर कदम उठाएंगे। प्रधानमंत्री जी ने आश्वासन दिया है और कदम भी ऑलरेडी उठा रहे हैं। उसमें एक कानून भी पारित हो चुके हैं। अब इस कानून के तहत आगे भी कार्रवाई करेंगे। प्रॉब्लम क्या है कि आपको बोलने के लिए समय देता है, उस समय में आप नहीं बोलते हैं, फिर बाहर में जाके बोलते हैं कि बोलने के लिए समय नहीं देते हैं। इतना प्रॉब्लम ये लोग मिसलीड करते हैं कि रूल में आपका पास पूरा सुविधा है। सुबह से शाम तक टेलीविजन, आप लोग तो सब मीडिया वाले हैं, सुबह से शाम तक मोदी जी को, प्रधानमंत्री जी को ये लोग गाली देते रहते हैं, सुबह से शाम रात तक। और वो लोग फिर बोलते हैं कि बोलने का आजादी नहीं है।
बोलने की आजादी नहीं।
अब सोच के देखिए, ऐसे लोगों का आप कैसे और किस तरीके से ठीक किया जा सकता है? आप लोग भी सोचिए, मीडिया वाले भी।
संतोष पाठक हूँ आईएनएस से। जिस तरह से हमने 17वीं लोकसभा में देखा और राज्यसभा में जिस तरह से देखा, 18वीं लोकसभा का ये पहला सत्र था, आगे बजट सेशन आने वाला है। आपने विपक्ष के नेताओं से अपील की, खुद मुलाकात करने की जाए, लेकिन फिर भी उनका रवैया संदर्भ में सब लोगों ने देखा। आगे आने वाले सत्रों के लिए, खासतौर से जो अगला बजट सत्र आएगा, तो क्या उम्मीद और क्या अपील मोदी के नेताओं?
नहीं, आपका सवाल बहुत बढ़िया है। मैं उसमें एक और जुड़ के बात बताना चाहता हूँ। हम लोग सब अभी सीनियर हो गए हैं, तो काफ़ी एमपी से हम लोग का इंटरेक्शन पहले भी हुई है, आज के समय में भी हो रहे हैं। एक बात है जो आप लोगों को भी पता है, जो नए एमपीस है, जो नए चुन के आते हैं, वो सबसे पहले पार्लियामेंट में जो घुसते हैं तो वो डिबेट एंड डिस्कशन सुनना चाहते हैं ताकि कुछ सीखें। तुरंत कोई एक्सपर्ट होके नहीं आते हैं। हम लोग जब पार्लियामेंट में आए थे तो अटल जी, आडवाणी जी, जॉर्ज फर्नांडिस साहब, मुलायम सिंह जी, प्रणब मुखर्जी, कई सीनियर्स, सुषमा स्वराज जी, अरुण जेटली जी, हम लोग से जो सीनियर थे, हम लोग कम से कम 2-3 महीने तक तो हम लोग चुपचाप देखते रहे और सीखते रहे कि हमारे सीनियर्स कैसे परफॉर्म करते हैं, कैसे बोलते हैं, बोलने का तरीका क्या है, इफेक्टिव प्रेजेंटेशन रूल के तहत कैसे हम पार्लियामेंट में अपना बात रख सकते हैं, ये सब सीखते हैं। यहाँ तो पार्लियामेंट शुरू होने से पहले ही हंगामा सिखा रहे हैं कांग्रेस पार्टी नए एमपीओ को। तो नए एमपी कैसे सीखेंगे? संसदीय परंपरा में बहुत नियम नीति को फॉलो करना अत्यंत आवश्यक होता है। इसलिए ये जो नए एमपीस लोग मेरे पास बहुत आए, मुझे पूछते हैं कि सर ये पार्लियामेंट का क्या हमेशा ऐसे होते रहेगा क्या? हम लोग कब अच्छा डिबेट सुनने को मिलेंगे, कब हम लोगों को भी अच्छा से बोलने का मौका मिलेगा? तो मैंने कहा कि हम लोग सरकार पूरा फ्लोर आपके लिए हम लोग खुला छोड़ेंगे, नियम तहत जितना बोलना आप बोल सकते हैं। लेकिन कांग्रेस पार्टी और 1-2 लोग हैं, उन्होंने ठान लिया कि पार्लियामेंट चलने नहीं देंगे। उससे बहुत नुकसान हो रहा है, खास करके हमारे जो नए मेंबर्स ऑफ पार्लियामेंट हैं उनको तो बहुत बड़ा नुकसान हो रहा है, देश को भी नुकसान हो रहा है और हमारा महान भारत का संसदीय परंपरा है उसको भी चोट पहुंचाया है कांग्रेस पार्टी ने।
एक सवाल मेरा है। इस जो 18th लोकसभा में सत्र में ये देखा गया कि विपक्ष का जो मोडस ऑपरेंडी है नैरेटिव बिल्डिंग है, तो आप उसको जब अगला सत्र आएगा तो वो उससे भी ज्यादा और नैरेटिव खड़े करेंगे, उसका काउंटर क्या आप लोग की स्ट्रैटेजी होगी?
देखिए, देश को गुमराह करने के लिए और पार्लियामेंट को नुकसान पहुंचाने के लिए कोई भी जो टैक्टिक्स होगा, कोई भी नैरेटिव्स होगा, वो चलेगा नहीं। वो सिर्फ एक दिन के लिए होते हैं, एक हेडलाइन बनाने के लिए होते हैं। देश को लंबा रास्ता और लंबा विजन और प्लानिंग चाहिए। ये जो एक दिन का हेडलाइंस प्राप्त करने के लिए कांग्रेस पार्टी का जो स्ट्रेटेजी है, जो हरकतें हैं, वो लंबा नहीं चल सकता है। ये देश एक्सेप्ट नहीं करेगा।
किरण जी, जो एमपीज आपके पास आ रहे हैं, जो एमपीज आपके पास आ रहे हैं, वो क्या कांग्रेस पार्टी के भी हैं जो कहते हैं?
मेरे पास जितने एमपीस आए हैं उसमें कांग्रेस के भी 4-5 लोग हैं, लेकिन अन्य छोटे छोटे पार्टी के एमपी, जिसके पार्टी के 1-2 एमपीस होते हैं, वो बहुत दुखी हैं, वो भी आए हैं। अपने पार्टी के लोग भी आए हैं कि बहुत उम्मीद के साथ पहला दिन पार्लियामेंट आया, लेकिन हंगामा देखने को मिला पहले ही दिन। तो ये चीज़ जो है कांग्रेस पार्टी को सोचना होगा कि हम इस तरह का हरकतें करके कैसे हम देश का भलाई कर रहे हैं, ये कांग्रेस पार्टी को सोचना होगा।
किरण जी, मैं संदीप बोल रहा हूँ वर्तमान न्यूज़पेपर से। मेरा क्वेश्चन है, ये जो सेशन है ये क्या कंटिन्यू करेंगे या प्रोग्राम होगा और कब से बजट
साइनेड होगा?
ये आज नहीं, दोनों, कल लोकसभा का भी एडजॉर्न साइनेज किया है, आज राज्यसभा का भी एडजॉर्न किया गया है सैनिटाइज। अभी हम इसको कैबिनेट में ले जाएंगे और क्योंकि सैनिटाइज हो गए हैं तो हमको नया सत्र बुलाना होगा। नए सत्र के लिए जो रूल्स हैं उसके मुताबिक कैबिनेट में निर्णय करके फिर राष्ट्रपति जी के पास जाएंगे। पहले तो हाउस प्रोरोग होगा, फिर नए सेशन के लिए जो बजट सेशन होगा उसका समन्स फिर से इशू होगा महामहिम राष्ट्रपति जी के द्वारा। तो कैबिनेट में हम ले जाएंगे, फिर आपको पता चल जाएगा नया पार्लियामेंट सेशन का डेट कब होगा। हाँ जी, तो अभी कैबिनेट में निर्णय होने से पहले तारीख बोलना तो मेरे लिए संभव नहीं है क्योंकि अभी डिसाइड ही नहीं हुआ।
Sir, you spoke about new MPs and Prime Minister also spoke about them.
Yes.
He said there is a selective attitude against atrocity on women, and he was referring to TMC also. So would you also say that the new MPs should be come out of the party lines and also speak about atrocities on women, what Prime Minister said in the House today?
Absolutely, Prime Minister has made one very specific appeal that all young MPs cutting across party lines, everybody should address the issues. If we have to condemn some kind of atrocities against women or highly condemnable, we must come together. It's an appeal from the Prime Minister for everyone. We must listen to the Prime Minister. रिपीट मत कीजिए अभी, मत, ये पहली बार है। हाँ जी,
जय फिलिस्तीन का नारा लगाया,
पहले बता दिया ना।
ये आपको स्पीकर ने कई शिकायत आए हैं बाहर से भी, सुनने वालों को अच्छा नहीं लगा। तो शपथ के समय किसी एमपीस ने गलत शब्दों का इस्तेमाल किया और आदरणीय स्पीकर महोदय को रिक्वेस्ट किया गया है। उन्होंने जो कदम उठाया है हम सब ने अप्रिशिएट किया है।
कमेटी बनाई,
माननीय स्पीकर महोदय ने एक कमेटी गठन करने का ऐलान किया है। उस कमेटी में इस बात का निर्णय होगा कि भविष्य में जो बहुत ही एक ऐसा समय जिसमें कोई राजनीति, कोई स्लोगन, कोई इस तरह का कोई मतलब ही नहीं होता है। ओथ है, उसमें लिखा हुआ संविधान में आपका ओथ का एक डिफाइन वो आपका फॉर्मेट होते हैं, उसी को ही पढ़ना होता है, उसी में ही आपको ओथ लेना होता है। तो कई लोगों ने वायलेट किया, तो पब्लिक को भी अच्छा नहीं लगा कि इस तरह के एक सोलेम ओकेजन को लोग पॉलिटिकल स्टेटमेंट देने का कोशिश करते हैं। मेरे ख्याल से सब पार्टी इसमें सहमत होगा और अच्छा एक हम लोग इसमें रूल्स आगे सख्त रूल्स बनाएंगे ताकि कोई शपथ लेते समय गलत तरीका व्यवहार ना हो और गलत शब्दों का इस्तेमाल ना हो।
कमेटी किसकी फॉर्म की गई है?
वही बताया ना, कमिटी टू एंश्योर दैट एनी वायलेशन ऑफ the oath taking process must be regulated, because this is a solemn occasion. When you take oath or of affirmation, you are supposed to follow the prescribed format and you are supposed to use only those words which are printed. So House has agreed with Honorable Speaker to constitute a committee to ensure discipline in the future.
सर मेघवाल जी ये भी बता रहे थे कि कल कांग्रेस के लोग ही सिर्फ जेल में थे, बाकी लोग नहीं थे।
कुछ लोग नहीं थे।
हाँ, तो क्या
वो तो
जो इंडियन अलायंस के लोग कहते हैं क्या
आप नहीं, वो तो आपने कहा ना विपक्ष एक है, उस पर जवाब दिया मैंने।
उन्होंने कहा कि विपक्ष पूरा एक नहीं है, अलग अलग मुद्दे पे अलग अलग है। वो एक कैसे हो सकते हैं? अलग स्टेट में वो सब आपस में लड़ते हैं, बंगाल में हो, पंजाब में हो, केरला में हो, वो एक नहीं है। तो ऐसे वो लोग इंडी गठबंधन नाम करके करते हैं, लेकिन वो एकजुट तो नहीं है ना। चुनाव एक दूसरे के खिलाफ लड़ते हैं ये लोग। We will approach everyone. We will not discriminate anybody when it comes to make an appeal to let the house run smoothly or for any purpose.
सर, मैं प्रशांत हूँ NDTV से। आज राज्यसभा में जब वॉकआउट किया विपक्ष ने, तो बाहर आकर मल्लिकार्जुन खड़गे ने कहा कि एलओपी के नाते उनका ये अधिकार है कि प्रधानमंत्री के भाषण
नहीं
अधिकार नहीं है, उसमें मेंबर यील्ड करना पड़ता है। ठीक है, मैंने जैसे कहा टोका टोकी होते हैं, लेकिन बिना मतलब का इंटेंशन खराब है। इंटेंशन मतलब प्रधानमंत्री का भाषण को रोकना। इस इंटेंशन से अगर आप खड़ा होते हैं तो उसको हम कैसे परमिशन देंगे? इसलिए चेयरमैन ने सही कदम उठाया। अगर प्रधानमंत्री जी के भाषण के दौरान कुछ एडिशनल जानकारी या कुछ और अर्जेंट या इम्पोर्टेंट बात रखना है, हाथ उठा सकते हैं, लेकिन इस नियत से कि प्रधानमंत्री जी के भाषण को हम बोलने नहीं देंगे, डिस्टर्ब करेंगे, ये नियत ठीक नहीं है। इस इंटेंशन से अगर सदन में आप अपना जो बात रखेंगे तो फिर मर्जी से आप बात नहीं रख सकते ना। आप रूल के तहत, नियम के तहत कर सकते हैं।
ये फर्स्ट सेशन ऑफ 18 लोकसभा शुरू होने से पहले आप सारे ऑपोजिशन लीडर के पास उनके पास गए थे, तो क्या आप कब एलओपी नहीं हुआ था लोकसभा में, अभी क्या राहुल गांधी के पास आप जाएंगे कि आप ये सबसे?
अरे ये तो बिल्कुल जरूर जाएंगे, हम सबसे मिलेंगे, सबसे। वो कोई एक व्यक्ति कोई स्पेशल तो होता नहीं है। पद, हम सब मेंबर ऑफ पार्लियामेंट हैं, हम लोग के लिए सब स्पेशल है, सबके साथ बातचीत करेंगे, सबको मिलेंगे।
और इस हाउस में मिलेंगे,
मिलते रहते हैं, कल भी मिले।
इस बार डिप्टी स्पीकर को लेकर के कुछ बात होगी?
नहीं, जो अभी तय नहीं हुआ उसका हम चर्चा नहीं करेंगे, उसका कोई विषय का अभी तय नहीं हुआ। ठीक है जी, थैंक यू वेरी मच।
Nifty and the Sensex hit record highs for the second day in a row, with the Sensex just shy of 80,000 mark. Nifty Bank adds over 70,000 crore rupees in investor wealth. HDFC Bank surges to an all-time high on potential increase in weightage on the MSCI Emerging Market Index. This was led by the fall in foreign institutional investors' holdings. Global India AI Summit kicks off in Delhi with the formal launch of India AI mission worth $1.2 billion. The government plans to invest in AI compute of 10,000 crore or more with graphics processing units. A big boost for IT companies. Semiconductor outsourcing is expected to reach $3.5 to $5 billion in the next 4 years. Tomato prices touch 100 rupees a kilo. In some places, potatoes and onion prices doubled from last year. Met Department's forecast promises that prices will cool in the next few weeks. Uttar Pradesh's Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath orders a judicial probe into the Hathras stampede. Delhi toll climbs to 121. Good evening and welcome. You're watching The Reporter on NDTV Profit, and I am Nupur Talwar Suri. Straight up to the big story that we are tracking today. It is the second day of record highs for the markets, with private banks doing most of the heavy lifting. My colleague Neeraj is joining us for a quick market wrap. Neeraj, a good day for the markets today?
Well, good day for the markets. In the morning on the trade setup, we were talking about will the markets get exhausted at higher levels. It doesn't seem like that has happened. Good going, really. We almost ended at the high point of the day for the benchmarks, and even for the Nifty Bank too, at 1.77% higher. Very strong showing. The reason being, some of the other banks which were lying low at the start of the trading day actually went up. You'd be deceived to think that it's HDFC Bank which powered the index higher. And yes, HDFC Bank played a part. But if you look at the index gainers, HDFC Bank was up 2%. But if you look at the Nifty gainers on the heat map, you will see that it was also stocks like ICICI Bank, Axis Bank, Kotak Bank, all of which were in the green. And frankly, let's get the heat map up on the screen, and you will see that while HDFC Bank ended 2% higher, and it was at a point of time up 3.5%, it was others like ICICI Bank, Axis Bank, etc., which were down in the red at a point of time. At least ICICI Bank was, and ended about 1% higher. So very strong show. But more importantly, a broad-based move today. Tata Consumer from the consumption space, Adani Port from the infra pack, then a slew of banks. There was also Power Grid, there was Eicher and Apollo Hospital. So a varied set of stocks did well and masked the weakness that came in from stocks like TCS, Titan and Reliance, more importantly, in the red as well. The broader end of the spectrum had a lot of defense names in the session today. A lot of defense stocks did well in the mid-cap and the small-cap end. And if you bring up the BSE 500, you will see what I'm talking about. From a Mazgon to a Solar to a Cochin Shipyard, some very strong moves out there for some of those stocks. Hudco, Castrol, etc., bringing up the rear. And it was across the board, because it's not just this. Garden Reach Shipbuilders, Zen Technologies, etc. had a good move. Wokhard continued to have a very good move. So a lot of individual stocks moved very high in trade, but by and large, it was banks that powered the markets ahead in trade today and kept the sentiment afloat.
And the big story today, of course, is HDFC Bank, that has reported a reduction in foreign institutional investors' shareholding to 54.83% in the June 2024 quarter, down from 55.54% in the previous quarter. Now, this change aligns with the MSCI index's requirement of keeping FII shareholding below 55.5%. Rucha joins us with what it effectively means. Hi, Rucha. Take us through what this really means.
HDFC Bank was in focus today. The stock opened at 3.5% higher than yesterday's close, but ended at around day's low. Now, so what's cooking in HDFC Bank? Let's check it out. The FII holding has come down to 54.83% in the stock. Now, the company has a foreign holding cap of around 74%. So the difference between the cap and the limit utilized, which is also called as the foreign room, is around 19% for the stock. Now, MSCI requires a minimum foreign room room of 15% for a weight up in the index. Now, HDFC's foreign room at 19% is more than the MSCI minimum threshold of 15%, and that is why there can be a weight increase for HDFC Bank in the MSCI stock. But how much can be the weight? Let me talk on that. After the merger of HDFC and HDFC Bank in July last year, the limit of foreign holding obviously remained at 74%, but the merged foreign holding obviously went up, and hence the foreign room decreased. Therefore, MSCI reduced the weighting of this merged entity by half, from around 6.5% to around 3.5%. And now, since the foreign room is above the minimum threshold of 15%, MSCI is likely to restore the weighting in its August review to around 7.5% for the stock. So this is what we had on HDFC Bank in today's trade.
All right, Richa, thank you for that. Now, the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology is hosting the Global India AI Summit 2024 starting today. The two-day event, inaugurated by Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnav, aims to discuss key issues related to artificial intelligence and will be attended by the international delegates, AI experts and policymakers. Rishabh is at the venue. He joins us now with more details. Hi, Rishabh. Take us through what this event essentially is all about, and how is this going to take India forward?
Right, we're at the Global India AI event where the formal launch of the India AI mission has taken place. Now, this mission is a multi-year mission that is worth about $1.2 billion initially, and is aimed to build India's AI prowess across 7 pillars, the 7 of which are compute capacity, foundational models, data sets, application development, future skills, startup financing, and an AI framework that a lot of the global South countries are looking at, as compared to the US or EU, where acts and executive orders have already been passed. There is no such governing framework for AI in India yet. So this mission is very, very crucial in that sense. What was also interestingly spoken about by Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnav was India's approach to AI. And he said that the approach will be very, very similar to what India has already done with digital public infrastructure, which is to basically set up a public sort of public data center and have companies and other institutes benefit off of that. Everything will be open source. That repository will be open for access, and companies can innovate on top of that, which is what we've seen with UPI, we've seen that with Aadhaar, we've seen that with CoWIN. So a similar approach being used by the government here. We also had Ashwini Vaishnav speak to us. Take a listen.
Whether in India, whether in Europe, whether in Japan, whether in US, everywhere we are facing the same challenges, and the global South is today looking for a universal support, a universal thought process, at least some common basic principles on which the world has to respond to the potentials on the one hand and the challenges on the other hand. We in India have basically understood that yes, for many of the problems that we face, many of the challenges, economic as well as social challenges that we face, AI can be a very big tool to solve many of the problems. Simultaneously, we need to contain the risks which AI brings. We also believe that the solution has to come through a global thought process. It cannot be done in isolation by any country.
Well, at the same event, Srinivas Narayan, the Vice President of OpenAI, spoke about OpenAI's take on India's AI app development initiative.
Is committed to supporting the India AI mission's application development initiative to ensure that Indian developers can build on our models and deliver social benefit at scale. And we really look forward to continuing the conversation with the ministry and gauging where we might be able to add the most value.
Now, some news from the IT space now. The semiconductor industry is outsourcing surge to boost growth for Indian IT companies. With chip demand on the rise, the industry globally is actively investing in manufacturing and R&D. My colleague Haripriya joins us with more details on this. Haripriya, very interesting trend over there. Tell us more, please.
As the semiconductor industry thrives globally, the companies within the sector are increasingly outsourcing their engineering work more so than they did before. Now, this presents a great opportunity for the Indian IT companies who have been building their domain capabilities to service the sector. Traditionally, the semiconductor industry has had one of the lowest outsourcing rates, and that is why it has always remained a niche area of servicing for Indian IT companies. But now, as the demand for the chips has shot up and companies are increasingly investing in manufacturing and R&D, they are looking for partnerships to increase their time to market and innovate solutions. According to analyst estimates, the R&D pie currently stands at about $70 to $80 billion, of which $2 billion is engineering outsourcing. Now, ideally, the outsourcing is 5% of the total R&D spend, which means that outsourcing will eventually grow to $3.5 to $5 billion in the next 4 years, as the investments in research and development also increases. Now, the semiconductor companies might not outsource the VLSI part of their business, which is a core function to them. They will definitely outsource the software part, wherein they'll require partners for active integration and implementation. The opportunity also lies within the design services domain, where the Indian IT companies can play. Now, the sector has recognized this opportunity and has been making active acquisitions. In the last 4 years, many acquisitions were to be seen. Infosys acquired Insemi, Tech Mahindra acquired Cerium Systems, and Wipro acquired Eximus Design. Now, analysts say that with these acquisitions, the companies are building vertical capabilities and are also getting a geographical footprint. Now, the Indian IT companies should soon be expecting a lot more business rolling in from the semiconductor industry.
All right, thanks for that. Now, vegetable prices have gone up significantly from last year thanks to deficient rainfall and heat waves. But the Met Department's rain forecast promises that prices will cool down in the next few weeks. Let's, in fact, go across to NDTV Profits Pallavi Nahata. Pallavi, the question that is on everybody's mind is when can we expect some relief in vegetable prices? Because, at times there is a drop, but it does go back to the same levels again.
Absolutely. So the southwest monsoons are now playing catch up, at least that's what's happening according to the IMD, which forecasts the rainfall to be above normal for the month of July. But what's already happened is that because of heat waves in several parts of the country in June, as well as deficient rainfalls, we've already seen vegetable prices continuing to rise over the last few weeks. Production of perishables, especially key vegetables including potatoes, onions and tomatoes, has already taken a hit. In fact, if we look at retail prices of onions and potatoes in Mumbai, these are almost at 2 times the levels we had seen an year ago, whereas prices of tomatoes are up by almost about 60% on an annual basis. Onions are currently retailing at about 50 rupees a kg, while tomatoes are selling at about 80 rupees a kg. This is data for Mumbai, which seems to be seeing higher inflation than metropolitan cities like Chennai or Delhi. But like you said, the critical question remains when we're likely to see some comfort on this front. Well, it's unlikely that we will see any immediate respite, and assuming that rainfall is normal in the next few months, starting July, the next crop is expected to come in only a couple of months or so later, which means that it might be September until when we'll actually be putting up with higher prices.
All right, so what you are saying is we're going to have to shell out the same amount of money, at least for now. Pallavi, thank you very much for joining us. Now, moving on to our series on cutting down budget jargon for our viewers. Well, understanding fiscal policy is the key to grasping how our government manages the economy. For today's budget jargon, let's understand how fiscal policy helps in shaping India's financial landscape.
If you're running a household, you have a budget, right? Let's say you decide to spend more money on home repairs this month. This extra spending can improve your family's living conditions. Similarly, if you need more money, you might ask family members to contribute more. In the same way, the government uses fiscal policy to manage the country's budget. It refers to the government's use of spending and taxation to influence the country's economy. The Ministry of Finance plays an important role in shaping and implementing fiscal policy. Now, fiscal policy operates through two main channels: government spending and taxation. Government spending involves allocating funds for infrastructure, education, healthcare, and other public services. For example, imagine the government decides to build a new school in your neighborhood. That's government spending in action. On the other hand, taxes are the primary source of government revenue. By adjusting tax rates, the government can increase or decrease its income. For example, when you buy a smartphone, a part of that money goes to the government as tax. But when you buy vegetables, you don't pay tax, since they are essential commodities. Bureau Report, NDTV Profit.
Well, we slip into a very short break here on The Reporter, but stay with us as on the other side we bring you a detailed report about the Hathras stampede. Welcome back. You are watching The Reporter on NDTV Profit. Now to Hathras in Uttar Pradesh, where the Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath has ordered a judicial probe into the stampede which killed 121 people. NDTV's Tanushka Datta has the latest and now joins us. Tanushka, take us through what you're picking up in terms of the investigation and thereafter.
I'm currently standing outside the police lines in Hathras. This is in Hathras, where in Fulrai village, the stampede accident happened yesterday, which cost the lives of 121 people and 28 injured. This is the death toll right now, which the local sphere is likely to rise. The stampede happened after a religious congregation of this so-called self-proclaimed godman who goes by the name of Bhole Baba. This Bhole Baba organized and his team organized a satsang at this area in Fulrai village in Hathras. This is exactly in Sikandrao in Hathras, and this is where the event happened, which led to a massive stampede after the event. So an FIR has been lodged, and this is where Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath as well held a press conference just a short while back, and he in the press conference, he informed that, whoever is behind this entire mishap, whoever is to blame and whoever is responsible will be held to account and strict actions will be taken against them. What the Chief Minister also made sure is that the police as well as other teams have been deployed. A special investigation team has been deployed to look into the matter. A judicial bench will also be set to look into the matter. We know that a public interest litigation has been, put up at the Supreme Court. So the matter has also reached the Supreme Court.
All right, now the Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath held a meeting with officials in the Circuit House and met the injured in district hospitals. He also directed the district officials to ensure that the injured are hospitalized promptly and to expedite relief efforts. He has criticized the opposition for trying to politicize this incident.
राज्य सरकार इस पूरी घटना की तह में जाएगा। ये हादसा है या साजिश, यह भी हम इसकी तह में जाकर के इसको देखेंगे। इस प्रकार की घटना पर पीड़ितों के प्रति संवेदना व्यक्त करने की बजाय राजनीति करना यह अत्यंत दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण है और निंदनीय भी।
Well, Prime Minister Modi responded to the debate on the motion of thanks on the President's address in the Rajya Sabha. The opposition staged a walkout in protest. He hit out at the Congress, saying that people have rejected their politics. The Prime Minister also spoke about issues of the NEET paper leak, Manipur and recent flogging of a woman in Bengal. The House then adopted a resolution of the motion of thanks to the President's address, following which the chairman adjourned the House sine die. Speaking on the Manipur issue in the Rajya Sabha, the Prime Minister said that the government is continuously making efforts to normalize the situation there. He also emphasized that incidents of violence are continuously reducing in Manipur.
सामान्य करने के लिए सरकार निरंतर प्रयासरत है। वहां जो कुछ भी घटनाएं घटी, 11,000 से ज्यादा एफआईआर की गई है। मणिपुर छोटा सा राज्य है, 11,000 एफआईआर की गई है। 500 से ज्यादा लोग अरेस्ट हुए हैं। आदरणीय सभापति जी, इस बात को भी हमें स्वीकार करना होगा कि मणिपुर में लगातार हिंसा की घटनाएं कम होती जा रही है। इसका मतलब शांति का आशा रखना, शांति पे भरोसा करना संभव हो रहा है।
Well, after being stranded in Barbados since their T20 World Cup victory on the 29th of June, the Indian cricket team has finally departed this afternoon on a special aircraft chartered flight. The BCCI Vice President Rajiv Shukla announced on X that the BCCI has made all necessary arrangements for the safe return of the players. The team is expected to arrive in New Delhi on the 4th of July. Well, the Roads and Transport Minister Nitin Gadkari, in conversation with NDTV's Editor-in-Chief Sanjay Pugalia, talks about how low-interest innovative finance is the key to infrastructure growth.
क्या है रुपीस डॉलर फ्लक्चुएशन? एन इतना स्ट्रांग है कि 0% में भी लिया तो भी डर लगता है। बहुत स्ट्रांग करेंसी है। डॉलर में भी वही है। तो कहीं ना कहीं जब तक ये डॉलर और फॉरेन करेंसी का हेजिंग करके ये नहीं होगा, ये प्रॉब्लम है। दूसरी बात, अभी हमारे यहाँ 100 करोड़ की बैंक गारंटी चाहिए, तो बैंक बोलती है 100 करोड़ डिपॉजिट दो कॉन्ट्रैक्टर को। तो अभी इंश्योरेंस बॉन्ड के पीछे लगे हैं। परफॉर्मेंस गारंटी और बाकी सबके लिए अभी हमने चालू किया है और अब इंश्योरेंस बॉन्ड स्वीकारना शुरू किया है। तो मैंने तो अभी ये भी कहा कि ये जो हमारे कॉन्ट्रैक्टर एसोसिएशन ऑफ इंडिया, उनको कहा तुम एक कंपनी बनाओ, 51% तुम्हारे 49% एनए जाएंगे और तुम्हें बॉन्ड की गारंटी लेते जाओ, इंश्योरेंस बॉन्ड की, और ये कंपनी करा के करो, प्रॉब्लम छूटेगा। एक साल फाइनेंशियल क्लोजर नहीं होता। तो ऐसी बहुत सी बातें हैं जो कंस्ट्रक्शन में, फाइनेंशियल इसमें, अब ऐसा है कि सबको फाइनेंशियल आर्म है, हमारे एनएचआई को नहीं है, जबकि बैलेंस शीट हमारी सबसे स्ट्रांग है। तो हम लोगों को, हमारे कॉन्ट्रैक्टर को बैंकों से ही लोन लेना पड़ता है। तो कहीं ना कहीं इनोवेटिव फाइनेंस विथ लोअर इंटरेस्ट, विदाउट कॉम्प्रोमाइज द क्वालिटी, कॉस्ट ऑफ कंस्ट्रक्शन को कम करना और क्वालिटी ऑफ कंस्ट्रक्शन को इंप्रूव करना.
And NDTV's editor-in-chief also asked him about when users will pay toll for the distance travelled and not the entire route. Here's what he told us.
आपने अभी टोल नाका का जिक्र किया तो जीपीएस के जरिए, और दूसरी बात ये आई सामने, आपने बताया था कि जितना डिस्टेंस ट्रैवल किया उतने का ही टोल लगेगा, पूरी सड़क का नहीं लगेगा. अब आप ये बताएं कि ये कब से होगा?
3 महीने के अंदर अभी टेंडर निकल रहा है, 3 महीने के अंदर शुरू करेंगे.
3 महीने के अंदर सारे टोल के चेक नाका
सारे नहीं होंगे. फर्स्ट फेज में 5000 किलोमीटर होगा और जैसा सक्सेसफुल हुआ, परसों यहाँ अशोक होटल में वर्कशॉप हो गया, प्री बिड कॉन्फ्रेंस जैसा. दुनिया के सब टेक्नोलॉजी आए थे, टेक्नोलॉजी प्रोवाइडर, आईटी कंपनी और टोल ऑपरेटर. तो हमने टेक्निकल फाइनेंशियल क्वालिफिकेशंस पक्के कर दिए. शायद 15-20 दिन में हम टेंडर निकालेंगे और हम शुरू करेंगे.
Well, India is the only country in the world where petrol prices have come down. That's the word coming in from the Petroleum Minister Hardeep Singh Puri while speaking at the NDTV Infra Shakti Awards 2024. He shared how infrastructure is not just limited to buildings.
विपक्ष में जो वो हमारे जो मित्र लोग हैं वो कहते हैं बड़ा महंगा हो गया. अरे दिस इज द ओनली कंट्री इन द वर्ल्ड वेयर पेट्रोल प्राइसेस हैव कम डाउन एंड यू कंपेयर इट टू व्हाट्स हैपनिंग इन साउथ एशिया, नॉर्थ अमेरिका. Infrastructure, when you talk about energy, you're not just talking about the kind of infrastructure, physical buildings, etc. You're also talking about, you have put in 11,000 distributors for Ujjwala in rural areas. Today, your development, your thrust into biofuels, into the rural space, all that, if you look at much of this is you're rendering services. That is also an infrastructure dimension, which sometimes is not captured when you talk about.
Well, the UK is heading for its general elections tomorrow. The country will be conducting the general elections after 5 years to elect its next Prime Minister. At the moment, the Conservative Party holds the majority with 344 members of Parliament out of the 650 seats in the House of Commons. Let's look at some of the key contenders for the election. The current Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, the leader of the Conservative Party, while Keir Starmer is the leader for the Labour Party. Apart from them, Nigel Farage, also known as a minister, Brexit heads the Hard Right Reform UK Party. Two other parties that may not win but will have a say in who does are Ed Davey's Liberal Democrats and John Swinney's Scottish National Party.